This is Ritesh Srinivasan and welcome to my channel. In this video, let's look at a new clinical or medical language model called as NYUTron. So researchers at New York University NVIDIA have leveraged recent advances in natural language processing to train a large language model for medical language called as NYUTron and subsequently fine-tune it across a wide range of clinical and operational predictive tasks. So they evaluated this approach within their healthcare system for 5 such tasks: 30-day all-cause readmission prediction, in-hospital mortality prediction, comorbidity index prediction, length of stay prediction, and insurance denial prediction. And this model shows an AUC of 78.7 to 94.9% with an improvement of 5.36 to 14.7% in the AUC compared with traditional models. Okay, so physicians make difficult decisions every day and they require integration of tremendous amount of information. This information is actually scattered across various records. It could be patient's medical history, laboratory and imaging reports. When physicians perform their work, all of this information ultimately gets integrated into the clinical notes written by the physician to document and summarize patient care. So current clinical predictive models are derived from the rules that have existed for decades as well as machine learning methods, with most relying on structured inputs pulled from electronic health record or direct clinician inputs. So this reliance on structured inputs introduces complexity in data processing as well as model development and deployment, which is in part responsible for majority of medical predicting algorithms being trained, tested and published but not deployed to assess their impact in real world clinical care. This is frequently referred to as last mile problem. Okay. So in this paper, they present results from developing, evaluating and deploying and prospectively assessing NYUTron. It's an LLM based system that can integrate in real time with clinical workflows centered around writing notes and placing electronic orders. This approach relies on the fact that all clinical useful data and medical professionals' decision making processes can be found as structured or unstructured text in your electronic health record. Okay, for example, notes, laboratory results and reports on studies. So they investigate this hypothesis in the NYU Langone Health System, a large multi-borough hospital system with a diverse patient population in New York with 4 urban hospitals and 350 outpatient sites. Okay, so here is the overview of the language model based approach for clinical prediction. The first part is data collection. So what they did over here is that they collected data from NYU Langone EHR. They collected 2 types of data sets. One is clinical notes and one is clinical notes for fine tuning tasks. Okay, task specific labels. So basically clinical notes for specific tasks. Okay, so this general clinical notes, it consists of 10 years of inpatient clinical notes, close to 380k patients, 4.1 billion words. That is this particular clinical notes. The fine-tuning dataset consists of 5 fine-tuning dataset basically, each consisting of 1 to 10 years of inpatient clinical notes, ranging from 55k notes to 55k patients to 413k patients. Okay. 51 to 87 million words with task specific labels. What did they do next? They did pre-training of a BERT style model, a language model, which has 109 million parameters using masked language modeling on this clinical notes. This clinical notes is 4.1 billion words. Okay, and 387k patients. Okay, on that they pre-trained a BERT model. Then they fine-tuned this pre-trained BERT model named as NYUTron on this fine-tuning datasets. Okay, which are task-specific datasets. Okay, then they also deployed this fine-tuned model on prospective data what they did was they did an accelerated version of this particular, they compressed this model into an accelerated format and loaded it into an inference engine, which interfaces with this clinical notes, right, their EHR system, to read discharge notes when they are signed by treating physicians for the prospective study. Okay. So this is about the the process of development and deployment of this large language model, okay, called NYUTron. Now, what are the clinical tasks and admin tasks which they fine-tuned this model for? Okay, which they fine-tuned NYUTron. So the clinical tasks are in-hospital mortality prediction, which is how likely is the patient to die in the hospital before discharge. Then binned comorbidity index imputation, which is without structured ICDs or any codes, how sick chronically ill is the patient just from the clinical notes. Then 30-day all-cause readmission prediction, how likely is the patient to come back within 30 days of discharge based on the clinical notes. Okay, these are clinical tasks. Operational tasks are binned length of stay prediction, how long will the patient stay in the hospital. Insurance denial prediction, how likely is the patient's insurance claim to be denied. Okay, so these were the 5 tasks on which this model NYUTron was fine-tuned for. Okay, and what they say is that overall this model shows improved performance across when compared to structured features baseline. Okay, that is what they say over here. And they talk about the performance against for each of the specific tasks. That is what they show over here, right? So I'll not go into it, right? So they also did a prospective study, right? So what is prospective study? They basically deployed this model that was on retrospective data, but they also did on prospective trial from January to April 2022. So during this period, they deployed this model in an accelerated format and loaded it in inference engine, which interfaces with the EHR to read discharge notes as they were signed by treating physicians. So there were totally 29K discharge encounters with close to 3,000 patients returning within 30 days. So this particular model predicted 2692 of these patients, as readmissions of these 3271 patients. Okay, what is the impact of this? So what they say is that they asked a group of 6 physicians to perform a qualitative evaluation of 100 randomly sampled readmitted cases from this model prediction. Okay, and they say that some true positive predictions are clinically meaningful, preventable readmissions. So that is the impact. Okay, further details are present over here. You can read about it. Okay, here they show the performance of a retrospective study basically on prediction, on readmission prediction, and they show the details over here. Okay, so when compared to physicians over here, this particular model has improved performance. That is what they show over here, right, when compared to physicians. And if you look at when compared to other language models, okay, so if you look at structured data model, so this is the model for structured data over here, right, the traditional model, NYUTron shows better performance. And these are models which have been trained on, say, this is a model which has been trained on WebWiki plus bio plus clinical. So general language plus clinical language, that shows comparable performance to NYUTron over here. This red line, this green line is NYUTron. Then you also have other models like which are purely, they are general domain models which have been fine-tuned on clinical domain, which is this WebWiki, the triangle one, so which shows comparatively lower performance compared to NYUTron, right? WebWiki plus bio over here, it also shows comparatively lower performance when compared to NYUTron, which is purely on clinical data. Okay, so there are some insights from this particular paper. So the insights are that you have these general large language models which are currently available, but integrating them into medical workflows is difficult because they are highly dependent on user inputs and prompting like ChatGPT and other models. Whereas this approach is much more easier to integrate and it can be rapidly prototyped within this framework. So it is kind of a solution to the last mile problem. Okay. And this approach relies only on unstructured text. And because of this, a lot of problems can be solved. And what they're saying is that this is a fundamental paradigm which can be used to explore on solving a lot of aspects of patient care and automating hospital operations. Okay. Another interesting thing over here is that this approach of using a smaller encoder language model trained on highly tailored data, it's a departure from your current large language models, right, which are more than 1 billion parameters. Okay. So what they are saying is that even this smaller model requires a lot of hardware to train. For example, their pre-training used 24 NVIDIA A100 GPUs with 40 GB of VRAM for 3 weeks, and fine-tuning used 8 A100 GPUs for 6 hours per run. So this is also difficult to get for academic institutes and research groups. Okay, but what they are saying is that if you have high quality data sets for fine-tuning, they are more valuable than pre-training, because you can still take an externally pre-trained language model and you can fine-tune. Okay, but the externally pre-trained model preferably should be from the same domain. Okay, it should have been pre-trained with a large amount of in-domain clinical text. Then we can get better results compared to out-of-domain models. But out-of-domain models also can give performance, but when compared to out-of-domain pre-trained models, in-domain pre-trained models are better. Okay, so that is what they are saying over here. So they have tried decoder based architectures with fine tuning on medical data, or prompt tuning with these other techniques are also there. But because of this domain shift from general to medical text for LLM work in medical sciences, it is better that we go with in-domain models. That is what they're saying over here. But the ultimate validation for this approach must come from random controlled trials of intervention tied to individual task predictions. Okay, so you need to do random trials on prospective data to verify the usefulness of these kind of models, and all intervention should be decided with physician supervision. Okay, although operational cases can be fully automated, but whatever is considered to be for patient outcomes should be decided with physician supervision instead of just relying on the model. Okay, so this particular paper is interesting because of this particular usage of unstructured text for clinical outcomes. Okay, to come up with algorithms, or say fine tuning of a language model for predicting clinical outcomes. It is interesting from that perspective. Some very good insights on what you call small language models, less than 1 billion parameters, still performing better than large language models. So it points out to, one is access to high quality data. If your data is high quality, a smaller model also can give better results than bigger, larger models. Okay, that is one insight over here. The other insight being, how solving this last mile problem. You can have very good algorithms, but they need to be easily integrated into your healthcare systems for clinicians to make use of them. Otherwise, you might have very good algorithms which have been developed, but they'll never be deployed. Okay, and the next thing is that you would still require prospective trials to verify the utility of such models. So this is a short video on NYUTron. I hope this video is useful for you. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting the link to this publication, and they also have their code for this particular paper in their GitHub, so you can go and check it out. See you in another video.